Far away.
Coxie, I imagine the feeling now is very different to how you were feeling at half-time.
Yeah, it is like, I think probably the first thing I want to acknowledge is the massive support that come to the SCG on a Thursday night. It's the biggest ever first game at home. To have over 40,000 shows that this works. And we understood the responsibility from the opportunity that the AFL gave us to put on a show. First half wasn't a great show, but when we played the way we wanted to, and in that third quarter, the crowd and the 40,000, they were as loud as I've heard in a long time. So I just wanted to start with that. I think it's important to acknowledge our supporters and what they do, and they show up, which is good.
Was it nerves? Was it what was it in the first half? Do you think that led to so many clangers, drop marks, things like that?
Oh, there's probably a little bit of that, but also the intensity Carlton played at. I don't think you can take anything away from that. I think in the first half they were plus 25 or something around the contest. So they got their hands dirty and we didn't. And from the outset, the first two and probably the start of the third, when they got going a little bit from some stoppage goals, the response after that was very pleasing. But it come from around that. It come from some of our good players standing up and taking it to some of their players.
There was a lot of emotion out there with both sides.
Yeah.
Did you address it at all pre-game? The fact that players had swapped clubs and everything?
Yeah, we spoke about it throughout the week, but it wasn't anything with a particular plan to do anything about it. It was more about, acknowledge, obviously, Charlie, it was a big game, 150th against his old club, but we also had two other players play their first games for the footy club, and then two players that played against us that were here for a long time and amazing servants. So, we knew it was going to boil at some stage and something was going to happen, and, it was just, I suppose, a credit to our guys. We didn't overreact and give away free kicks or do anything. It was the other way.
What have you heard as big a cheer when Charlie got his first goal? I mean, it was pretty electric.
Yeah, it was. And I think, everyone understands the narrative behind it and the expectation when you get a great player like Charlie to your football club, and we've had some unbelievable key forwards, and I suppose the hype that does surround that. So I was more worried about if he missed, all the boys are waiting to give him a high five and say congratulations rather than trying to set up and win the ball back if it did from a kick in. So but it was great to see him do that. But the most important part was I thought he competed well all night. That's what he did do.
But it was noticeable as well when he scores that first goal, pretty much the whole team jump in on top of him. I mean, that obviously says a lot about him as a person. Not everybody gets that on their first goal for the club.
I think the players certainly understand the magnitude of their first goal for a new club. We do the same for Mally. Charlie holds a little bit more with the occasion than what it was. So we want to make sure that we reward all players for the acts, not just the outcome. So Charlie gets the goal, but how did he get it? How did we create it? And he ended up on the end of it, which was good.
No, please go ahead.
Post-match, Ollie Florent and Callum Mills exchanged some words. Ollie appeared to not shake Callum's hand. Has Callum raised that with you? Do you have any issues?
No, I have no idea about that.
Yeah.
None at all. And they're good mates. That's all. That's what I know. I'm not sure.
Is there something you follow up with?
I'll speak to Callum. Yeah, we'll speak to Callum about it. And if it does, I'm not sure what happened out on the field. But they're there to compete against each other, but they're good mates. We've played against players that have left our football club at times.
What did you make of the knee? Obviously, Isaac took from Molly to the head. There was a bit of a tangle earlier. Do you think it was a football incident or?
Yeah. I think when you're over the ground, you're trying to go over the top of someone. Something keeps happening. The ball's going that way, so that I just see it like that. Isaac did HIA testing, passed that fine, and I'm glad he did,
You mentioned
because that third quarter was phenomenal.
You mentioned yesterday that when it came to Will and Ollie, you might give them attention, you might stand off and kind of almost give them the silent treatment. It felt like it was almost one of each for that, and kind of the players tried to get under Ollie's skin a little bit more. Was that something that was spoken about in particular?
No, not from me. I think what the players do with that sort of stuff that's over to the leaders and the decision that they make. There wasn't a directive from us about what we do with it at all.
And in the third quarter, obviously the 12-goal quarter, clearly I think the third highest scoring term in kind of AFL history was the stat bandied around. You kind of said throughout pre-season you want us to think, okay, if we play our best, we're going to be hard to stop. Is that a perfect example of that?
Well, I thought the way we played was the most pleasing thing. I thought we were really challenged in the first half with the ability to outnumber, and they did that a lot better than us. And then, I think once we did, we run to outnumber, support, and then we ran to receive from that. So, I thought we've got a lot of confidence in the work we've done over the summer that we can finish games, and the players have put a huge amount of work into being as fit as they possibly can, and it showed by the way that they could finish the game off.
When Isaac only has 3 touches, has the head knock
Yeah.
in the first half, obviously it's below what we kind of usually expect from him, but for him to come back from not only the head knock but have 13 and 2 goals in the third quarter, it's pretty important.
Yeah, I thought early our midfield were beaten, and convincingly. I think quarter time, if you look at it like that, we were hanging on in the game early, and you had Lord, Cripps, Walsh, Smith, they all had 8 or 9 touches each, and some of our blokes hadn't touched it. So the response after half time from them, especially like Errol had a lot early in the third. Isaac did what he did. Justin did what he did. Rowie got his hands dirty like he always does and sets the scene. So they responded really well in that part.
How important was this? Like, you look at it, say at half time or just before half time, and it could easily have been a sort of a listless Sydney performance, a loss, but the way that turned it on, that scintillating turnaround to turn what could have been a bad performance into one that everyone's talking about. How important is that, just to set the tone at the start of this season after last year?
Yeah, I think it's important that the players can respond when things aren't going their way or they're not playing at their best. And we've spent a lot of time over the summer, and to the players' credit, they openly speak about the work that they're doing to make sure that they can stay in the game as long as they possibly can, and they did that extremely well. We don't want to put ourselves in that position all the time. We'd love to start and not give opportunities to opposition teams as easily as we did, but yeah, I was really pleased with the response.
You did a few different things with that fifth bench spot in that first quarter with Paps and Callum Mills not getting on the field for a while. You're happy with how that played out for you? Or is it something you'll continue to tinker with?
Callum wasn't on purpose. And I think that's a part is the ball's played in our back half for a lot, and we couldn't actually get him on and someone else off. But where Tom, we knew Tom's had a limited pre-season in relation to match play. So, like the old sub, if it was around, he probably would have been the sub or subbed out. We needed to make sure that we could get a certain amount of minutes. He played 68 last week, it was about 75 tonight. We need to build in, we've got a 9-day break now to Brisbane, so he can get some training sessions in and then build from there. So that was just a plan. We needed to make sure that we had Tom at the end of the game rather than him sitting on the bench and he can't go back on.
Coxie,
Whenever you come more, please.
when you were just at half time and you're giving that half-time speech, does a year in the saddle, does it help you with your messaging and time? Like when seemingly midfield's beaten, everything's not going right for you, does another year help you when you really have to find the right words to give to your team?
Yeah, you probably experienced it before. You understand the playing group a little bit better. But also, to the other coaches, they had a really clear plan with what they wanted to do with each line. We discussed it at the back end of the second quarter. What is our messaging going to be at half time? What's the team messaging? showed some edits about the way we wanted to play and what we weren't doing. So, you got a lot of experience around you and people that we sort of spitball and have a discussion about what's happening and what we should do. And it's not always going to work, but this time it worked okay.
Just on Malcolm and Jai, pretty impressive first performances.
Yeah, they were. I thought Jai kept us in early. He was one of our better players in the first half when we were really challenged. And that's it was always going to be mostly about Charlie, but I couldn't be prouder of what those two players have done over the summer since they've been at our footy club. The work they've put in, they're great humans, and they deserve to represent the club tonight, and they did it really well.
Injuries wise, come out okay?
Yeah, okay, yep. So no injuries at the moment, which is good.